Alright, so here's where we're at on the 1950 Packard. So when we started it up last time, a lot of you noticed there was a water pump on the front of the motor. The water pump wasn't turning, it was completely locked up. That's kind of what happens over a period of 60 years. This gunk gets in there, they seize up and they won't turn. So we had to take the water pump off. This is where the water pump was bolted to. So here's the water pump, and my dad actually rebuilt this water pump because a new water pump is about $200 and a remanufactured water pump is also about $200. No matter which way you go, if you send it out to be rebuilt or if you buy a new water pump, it was about $200, $225 either way. So my dad took it apart and he rebuilt it. He had to get a new bearing for the front shaft, and he also had to get a seal for the inside ring of this so that water doesn't go out the front. Instead of spending $200, he only spent about $10 and a couple days of his time fixing it and testing it out to make sure it won't leak. So we're going to put it back on, we'll put the front half of the motor back together, and we'll actually try and give it a little test drive. So the water pump housing is supposed to go here, but we put the water pump housing in muriatic acid to clean it up, and this is all that's left. That is absolutely unusable. So we're gonna have to figure out a solution to that before we can put this back together. Alright, so now you can see, got the radiator back in. The fan's turning now because my dad rebuilt the water pump. You can see where he sealed it from putting it back together. We got the radiator hoses back on. We got a new hose there. We capped off the heater hose. And our friend made us up a thermostat housing. He did a really good job. Welded it all together. Got us a new thermostat housing there. And my dad put a alternator on it because these cars were 6-volt positive ground generators. So my dad turned it into a 12-volt negative ground alternator system there. And we put an electric fuel pump on it, and we were able to run the fuel line now from the tank. So that's going to the tank with an electric fuel pump. So now she'll run on her own without any outside help. And this was the old housing I showed you guys a little while ago, but this is what was on it. I mean, just not totally unusable. It wasn't going to work. So we just got the alternator on it, and it's charging 12.5 volts. 13. So charging, so we should be able to actually give it a test run, see if it'll drive, see if the transmission will work. Right after we air up this tire though, that ain't gonna work. Alright, go ahead. Good? Yeah. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? Now my dad did rebuild the master cylinder and the wheel cylinder, and he put the brakes back together, so it does have brakes. The brake shoes are kind of questionable. I mean, we never replaced the brake shoes, so they're kind of thin, but they're good enough for what we want to do. We're not taking it down the highway. But look at that. Can you believe that? Factory motor. We never rebuilt it, never rebuilt the transmission. It still works after 40, 50 years of setting. Wow. How funny is that? Isn't that awesome? We'll take it down the road and we'll see what happens. She smokes a little bit, but that's all right. These things are, you know, they're born to pollute. That's all right. Her first maiden voyage out on the streets in 40 years. Let's take her for a spin. Is your finger in front of the camera? Hey, I don't know.
No.